Man, I'm built different, period. I'm just built different, man. And I've always had an eye, discipline, and a work ethic that I've had at a young age that I just applied there.
You believe you are thinking right now, that the voice in your head, the one narrating this moment, is yours, original, autonomous. But what if I told you that voice is a patchwork, assembled from the last 12 things you scrolled past before clicking on this video? The contradiction is this: you feel like a sovereign mind, an independent thinker navigating the world with free will and private judgment. But the architecture of your attention was designed by engineers who never wanted you to think at all. They wanted you to react, to scroll, to consume, to repeat. What remains of the private mind when every waking second is filled with external input? Not much, just fragments. How does it look from your POV? On the surface, you have opinions, preferences, convictions. You know what you believe about politics, about relationships, about success, about yourself. But trace any of those beliefs backward. Where did you first encounter the idea that defines your worldview? A thread, a clip, a stranger's face on a screen telling you how things are. The surface is curated coherence. Beneath it, a borrowed architecture. Psychologists have a term for this: source confusion. It's when you can't remember where you learned something. So your brain defaults to believing it originated inside you, but it didn't. The hidden rule is this: your mind has become a curation algorithm, not a creative organ. It sorts, ranks, and reassembles external fragments, and then convinces you the resulting collage is original thought. The deeper implication is worse. You don't notice it happening. The erosion is silent. You think you're forming beliefs. You're actually just arranging borrowed furniture in a room someone else built. Here's how it happened. Pattern. Every notification, every swipe, every autoplay triggers a dopamine release. Small, predictable, addictive. The cause: platforms engineered variable reward schedules, the same mechanism that keeps gamblers at slot machines. Your brain doesn't scroll because it wants to. It scrolls because the architecture bypassed your prefrontal cortex and wired itself directly into your reward system. The consequence: the average person now touches their phone 2,617 times a day. The average attention span for a single piece of content has collapsed to under 8 seconds. You consume the equivalent of 174 newspapers worth of information daily. But here's what nobody tells you. Your brain has a finite capacity for processing. When it's constantly flooded with input, it stops generating. There's no space for original thought when every gap in your attention is instantly filled by the next piece of content, the insight. You don't have a private mind anymore because a private mind requires silence, emptiness, boredom. And boredom has been engineered out of existence. You haven't been bored, truly, deeply bored, with nothing to fill the void in years. And that's not a convenience. That's the theft. The data doesn't whisper. It screams. A longitudinal study from the University of California tracked creative problem solving in 300,000 subjects over 3 decades. The finding: original ideation capacity has declined by 40% since the introduction of the smartphone. Not attention, not focus. Original ideation. The ability to produce a thought that wasn't prompted by external stimulus. Another study found that when people were left alone in a room with no devices for just 6 minutes, the majority couldn't sustain a single train of thought. Their minds fragmented. They reached for phantom phones. Several described the experience as physically uncomfortable. The Reddit threads tell the same story. Thousands of people admitting, with genuine fear, that they can no longer tell which thoughts are theirs and which were planted by the algorithm. They describe their inner worlds as someone else's scrapbook. The surface story is that we're more connected than ever. The hidden reality: we've outsourced cognition to a machine that was never designed to protect it. This is not a metaphor. This is not exaggeration. The private mind, the last true sanctuary, has been quietly dismantled, and most people will die without ever realizing it was taken. The contradiction is total. We have more access to information than any generation in human history, and we have less capacity for original thought than any generation since the invention of the printing press. What remains when nobody can think for themselves? A society that moves together toward the same opinions, the same aesthetics, the same ambitions. Cultural homogenization dressed as individuality. People who believe they're unique because the algorithm told them they were, and showed them exactly which version of unique is trending this week. The expanded view is darker. Original thought is not just a luxury. It's the mechanism by which societies course correct. It's how we identify lies, how we resist propaganda, how we imagine futures that don't yet exist because someone thought of them first. When original thought collapses, so does the capacity for resistance. You don't need a dictatorship when the population can no longer generate an idea the regime didn't provide. You just need an algorithm. Reclaiming your mind begins with a single, uncomfortable recognition. Most of what you believe isn't yours. The opinions you defend most fiercely, trace them. The preferences you consider core to your identity, interrogate their origin. The voice in your head right now, reading these words, ask yourself whose vocabulary it's using. This is not about deleting your apps or retreating to a cabin. It's about creating gaps. Silence. Boredom. Real. Uncomfortable. Fertile boredom. Because original thought doesn't emerge in the constant flow of input. It emerges in the space between inputs. In the pause after you put the phone down. In the walk without a podcast, in the 5 minutes you let yourself just exist without consuming. The private mind isn't dead, it's buried. And the first act of reclamation is simply this: stop filling every silence. Let the fragments settle and see what voice is left when the noise finally goes quiet. End of transmission. Reality will now resume.